Wonder how they could be so bad at execution, so good at memo. People who were really good at blind tended to be really bad at speed solving. I wondered, why were there no good speed solvers who were into blind that could actually solve the cube fast? No offense, of course. And so, early in the summer of 2016, I decided that I should be the one to go into blind, somebody who could actually turn, and see what I could do. This also happened to be at a time where everyone else was catching up to me in one-handed solving, and I wasn't really improving very much, and so I didn't have all that much motivation to practice OH, leaving me with more time to practice other events. And that time I decided to fill with learning 3-style for corners. Now, my main technique was to use a letter pair trainer to help me associate the different letters with the algs that I was learning, and also doing a lot of sighted blind solves, because I wanted to make sure that I could very quickly associate the letters with the alg, so that I could make sure to execute on point and be very smooth and consistent throughout the execution phase. Now, I don't know if at the time there were no good alg lists, or I just didn't know of any good alg lists, or I just was too lazy to look up any alg lists, but in any case, I ended up figuring out the algs on my own. And so oftentimes they weren't always the most speed optimal, because it was just me trying to put together a few setup moves. But it is true that at the time, even though it was only about 2 years ago, blind was certainly much less documented than it is today. And so, when this newfound passion for blind started in June of 2016, I was still probably around 55 seconds to a minute at 3x3 blind, but then I very quickly improved. By July, I was probably between 45 and 35 seconds, which was a pretty good improvement, especially considering that I was learning 3-style, but I still wasn't able to apply it all that well in my solves. I went to Europe for Euros, and ended up getting a 39 at Belfort the week before them, and unfortunately didn't do very well at the actual Euros competition, although I did get a 35 in the blind finals, which would have placed me 5th place, but unfortunately it was off by 2 twisted corners, as I had twisted one the wrong way. Nevertheless, it was a sharp improvement from the about 1 minute that I was averaging a mere month before, and I certainly wasn't going to let out. Something else to add was that the week before Euros, I very narrowly missed the world record for one-handed. In fact, it was off by only a few degrees. I would have gotten a 10.81 average, world record at the time, had I not gotten a +2 in one of the solves. All of that didn't really matter though, because at the finals of Euros, Felix got a 10.70 average, beating my world record no matter what. I'd pretty much lost all my motivation for OH, and so I decided that I was going to continue focusing on blind. A couple weeks later, I was headed to US Nationals. Unfortunately, I didn't do very well there at all. I got, I believe, a DNF in the finals, and didn't end up getting any good results in the first round either. But I did get to meet a few very interesting people. Of course, I met Gianfranco, but I had met him before. I think that the person who intrigued me the most was Ishan. He had only been doing blind for 8 months apparently, and was already in his mid-30s. He hadn't started queuing all that long ago, but he seemed to definitely have adequate technique. He showed me some great algs, and inspired me to keep looking for something better. His turning was very bad, as seemed to be my pet peeve at the time. Nobody seemed to be turning very well back then. In any case, it was pretty inspiring to see people who are so passionate about blind. Not just him or Gianfranco, but there were a lot of people, a lot of US blinders are truly inspiring. One of my good memories from then was when I was talking to Ishan, and I told him that since he was improving so quickly at blind, he was for sure going to be the world champion the next year. So I told him that 2017 in Paris, he was going to be the world champion, and I was going to strive. I was going to be second place, right behind him. I don't know if he remembers it, but it definitely makes me chuckle every time I think about it. I now had a dream, a purpose in blind. I knew what I was going to do. And so I practiced a lot of blind, kept trying to learn some more 3-style. Although I don't think I quite ended up being able to finish the corners. Well, okay, no, I definitely did not be able to. I was definitely not able to finish the corners since, well, I haven't really finished the corners quite yet. But in any case, I was practicing very hard. I went to a competition in Michigan, almost got an official 33, I think, but it wasn't actually solved. I got more and more unofficial sub-30s, to the point where I think I was averaging maybe about 32, 33 seconds. But then time flew so fast. It was already September, and I was ready to start my first year of university. It was my first time living on my own. I started getting really busy with schoolwork, labs, homework, tests. I got a girlfriend. Essentially, I dropped off the map of cubing for pretty much the entire year. I basically stopped practicing, and only competed twice in those about 10 months. Only once in blind, in which, well, since I hadn't practiced, I of course didn't do very well. When I did happen to have a little bit of time to practice, it was usually either 3x3 or OH, because I was tired and didn't really want to put all the effort into memorizing the whole cube. But that little bit of practice wasn't even to make me improve. It just seemed to be just not get bad. I didn't seem to improve at any event whatsoever during the entire year. But then, summer hit once again. I didn't have a job during that summer because I knew that I would be gone for at least half of it, since I was going to be in Latin America touring around. And so, I once again had a lot of time. I knew I was going to have so many rounds during the summer, and so I thought that it would be a good idea to practice some blind so that maybe I could get some really good single over the course of the month. I started at maybe about over 40 seconds when school let out, and then I practiced a lot. I kept learning a few algs every now and then by the time that I had to leave for South America, I'd say I was around 30 seconds, faster than I had ever been. Now the thing that probably kept me going the most in blind, and that has kept me going recently in blind, is that I can improve. With most other events, I seem to be stuck at a ceiling. With 3x3, I haven't improved significantly in years. In OH, the same thing. Both of my main events have more or less stayed stagnant. Most other events have stayed stagnant as well. A few of them, like 6x6 for example, I've improved a lot lately because I practiced for a competition. But blind seems to be the only one that I can really put practice into and see good results. And that's exactly what was happening. I started getting some pretty good results, and just kept improving and improving during the Latin America tour. In almost exactly a month, I went from having an official PB single of 38 to having a PB single of 25.14 seconds. It was the first time that I had ever gotten a national record in 3x3 blindfolded, beating the legendary Jake Klassen. In fact, a pretty fun memory that I have from that competition when I got the record. It was in the Arequipa competition, and I was competing against Gianfranco in the 3x3 blind finals, and I was doing pretty good. My first solve was a 26, which was a competition PB, and then the second solve I got a 25, which was great. National record, beating Jake, and then the last solve, of course, I was very stressed and ended up getting a DNF, as I seem to get in stressful situations. But in any case, Gianfranco hadn't seen the times that I had gotten. And so the best he had gotten was, I think, about a 25.5. And in the awards ceremony, they called him up for second place. He was pretty surprised. I was very, very proud at that moment when I got to stand first place on the podium, right ahead of the blind god. After the Latin America tour, I went to London for the London Open. I almost got a really good mean.